Remember, reader, if ever in the mountains you were trapped in fog and could not see, except as moles do through their eyelids, how when the thick, damp vapors began to thin, the sun's sphere passes feebly through them, then your imagination will be quick to reach the point where it can see how I first came to see the sun again, when it was almost at the point at which it sets. Measuring my steps to the steps of my trusted master, I came out of that haze to beams already vanished from the shores below. O imagination, which at times so rob us of outward things we notice nothing, though 1,000 trumpets sound around us, who sets you into motion if the senses offer nothing? A light, formed in the heavens, moves you, directly or led downward by God's will. Within that light, that changed its shape into the bird that most delights in singing, a picture formed in my imagination. At this, my mind had so withdrawn into itself that there was no impulse from outside that could impinge upon my senses. Then there reigned into my lofty fantasy one fastened to a cross, scornful and fierce in his looks and in his death, and with him the great King Ahasuerus, Esther his wife, and Mordecai the just, who was in word and deed so complete. And as this image broke upon itself, just as a bubble does when it floats above the water from which it takes its form, in my vision there arose a girl. She was weeping bitterly, crying, "Oh, my queen, why in your anger have you chosen not to be? So as to keep Lavinia, you killed yourself, and now you have lost me. I am she, mother, who mourns your death before another's." As sleep is broken when a sudden light strikes on closed eyes, and once it is shattered, gleams before it and dies completely, so my imaginings grew faint within me, as soon as a light, far brighter than the light we know, struck my face. I turned to see where I might be, when a voice said, "Here is the passage up," from which all other purposes were removed. That voice raised in me the overwhelming will to behold the one who'd spoken, with the eagerness that cannot be still until it faces what it wants. But as before the sun, when it becomes too strong, veils its form in an excess of light and defeats our vision, so before him my power of sight fell short. This is a divine spirit, who in the way of going up directs us without asking, and who with his own light himself conceals. He cares for us as we do for ourselves, like he who sees the need and awaits the asking, blindly leans already towards denial. We should accept his kind invitation, and let us try to climb before the dark falls, for then we cannot until day returns. These were my leader's words, and we together turned our footsteps toward a stairway. As soon as I had reached the lowest step, I sensed beside me something like the motion of a wing that fanned my face. I heard the words, "Beati pacifici," those untouched by sinful anger. Already the sun's last rays before the night were standing up so high before us that we could see the stars on every side. "Oh, manhood mine, why do you drain away?" I said, but only to myself, for I perceived the vigor of my legs was put in truce. We reached a point at which the stair ceased rising higher, and we stopped, as does a ship that reaches the shore. For a little while, I waited to discover if my ears could make out sounds in this new circle. Then I turned to my master and I said, "Sweet father, what is the offense purged here in the circle where we are? Although our feet must stop, your words need not." And he, "A love of good that falls short of its duty is restored here in this place, like a lazy oar pulled with greater force. But so that you may understand more clearly, now turn your mind to me, then you shall gather some useful fruit from our delaying here. My dearest son," he began, "neither the Creator nor his creature was ever without love, whether natural or of the mind, and this you know. The natural is always without error, but mental love may choose an evil object or err through too much or too little vigor. As long as it's directed towards the first good and tends towards secondary goods with measure, it cannot be the cause of evil pleasure. But when it bends to evil or pursues the good with more or less concern than needed, then the creature works against his maker. From this, you may surely understand that love must be the seed within yourself of every virtue, as well as every act that merits punishment. Now, since love never turns aside its eyes from the well-being of its subject, things are surely free from hatred of themselves, and since we cannot think of any being standing alone, divorced from his creator. Each creature is cut off from the desire of hating him as well. Thus, if I have judged properly, ill love can only mean to wish one's neighbor ill. 3 ways this love takes form within your clay. There is the one, hoping to excel by bringing down his neighbor, hopes for supremacy, and longs only from his greatness that his neighbor's excellence be cast down. There is one who fears the loss of power, favor, honor, and force should he be bettered by another. His sadness loves misfortune for his neighbor. And there is the one who thinks himself offended and hungers after vengeance and angrily seeks out his neighbor's harm. All these 3 forms of love cause weeping down below. Now I would have you consider yet another, which pursues the good in faulty measure. Everyone can vaguely apprehend some good, in which the mind may find its peace. With desire, each one strives to reach it. If the love that urges you to know this good is weak, this terrorist, after you have repented, punishes you for that. There is another good that fails to make men happy, for it is not the essence or true source, the root of happiness or its proper fruit. The excessive love which gives itself to that wrongful good is mourned above us in 3 circles. Exactly how its parts are 3, I do not say, so that you may consider for yourself.